right. I'm going to start off by saying I have been playing Sea of Thieves for just over 5 years. I got about 8,000 hours into the game. I'm a family friendly, community based Sea of Thieves player, or at least I was. And I feel that it's at least my responsibility because I would show people how to play the game. Didn't matter how old they were. They could be part of the community so long as they adhered to the guidelines I had for my Discord server, which included no sexual talk of any nature, no innuendos or anything like that, and for the most part, had a pretty good go at it. A lot of community events, very fond memories of, sailing the high seas with everybody. But this recent thing with Bruno, it's not so much, my concern is not so much with Bruno as it is with how Rare dealt with this. And I'm going to be going over their statement because I see a lot of comments in there with people saying that, well, they had to do something like this for lawsuit reasons, or you don't know what their policy and their guidelines are. I actually could care less what their policy is, what their standard of practice is, because the allegations that they had somebody shoehorn this guy in who had clear issues of sexual conduct should have been excluded from anything related to a community. My content is family friendly. The people that know me all know I'm a very family friendly oriented person. But this guy was so overt that just the things that he had put on the internet should have been something to exclude him. That aside from whoever made that decision, I know that's been the focus, but my main concern has been when they brought all of that information to Rare, there's another person out there somewhere who's we don't know because they didn't discuss that. That's fine. That still can be internal. But my problem is that this was reported to somebody and somebody sat on it for several days. Either that or they talked about it internally and decided not to do anything until it was made public. So I know for the most part, most of the internet looks like it is focused on this one Rare employee that let him in. My bigger concern is actually the way that Rare has responded by not doing anything until it went public. Then all of a sudden they started doing something. And I was trying to give them as much benefit of the doubt as I could because I was waiting for a statement, a video, or something, address the trust issue within the community because they've harbored this whole environment and made it this way. So I'd like to see, are they actually going to, put their knuckles down and say, okay, we're going to radically change things. So I'm going to go over this letter that they wrote and tell you why I can no longer endorse Sea of Thieves for minors. Everybody can play, a game that they like, but I feel responsible as a family-friendly content creator to at least address the reason why I don't think that this game is any longer appropriate, because you no longer have the trust of the community. And I'll show why. So beginning at the top, at Rare, we have a responsibility to look at both communities we support and our staff. We are committed to protecting people from harassment, abuse, and harm. The recent allegations we've seen surface online are deeply concerning and do not align with our values. That's actually right out the gate. This first section here, the recent allegations we've seen surface online are deeply concerning. They should have addressed, because the allegation isn't simply that it was put online. It was that it was forwarded to Rare. So they're framing this right out the gate as, well, we only found out about it once it, got really big. But that's not like one of the first things they should say is, was it submitted to them? Clarify that. I want to know that I can trust the company, that if somebody brings forward these pornographic materials tied to somebody that is associated with their company, that they can say whether or not that was actually submitted to them or not. They didn't even address that. They're just saying that we saw that online too, and that was disturbing. That's that's a very rocky start for me. And I know this whole thing is like a PR type of statement, but this could have been rephrased in a way to help people with the trust in Rare, that they just didn't go down this route. So continuing on, we know it can be difficult to report harassment, abuse, and we want those who come forward to feel heard and supported. Every report is treated confidentially, and we do not discuss specific incidents or actions publicly. We assess all reports carefully, and where allegations are supported, take note of that right there, we act quickly and escalate through the appropriate channels, including platform owners and law enforcement when necessary. This is PR for we didn't do anything. What they really should have done, if they were going to actually focus on this when they received it, because if you're submitted, if you get in your inbox a bunch of pornographic material that is involving a minor, you don't have to find out, was it supported? Is this what? No, you just turn that over to law enforcement, which is why this is very PR worded, because it does not appear to me that that's exactly what they did, because they tacked on the word and are supported where allegations are supported, as if they have to do an investigation after receiving some type of pornographic material. This is why they needed to say whether or not they have this, somebody did in fact submit it or not, because trust in the company it has been shattered with this. So moving on, games, communities, and online spaces are always evolving, and so will our policies, processes, and programs to ensure ongoing security and safety of our players. In areas we need more nuance and scrutiny moving forward, internal investigations will be undertaken to identify where improvements can and should be made. That's like the police officer verifying that his fellow officer did nothing wrong. You don't want somebody that already has their hand in the pot investigating themselves. That does not instill any confidence in me. Though we will not be sharing outcomes from any such investigations publicly, players may recognize some of the changes that are made in the future. Why is it that you can't tell us? I mean, I know you can't. You probably internally don't want to tell all of your findings and problems. But if you want to instill confidence, we need to be able to tangibly recognize where it has, not simply, oh, they made some minor changes, and we might recognize, some players may recognize some of the changes we may. What is that? What do you mean we may? Why is it that you can't say this is where this problem went wrong, and we're going to ensure and give you a trust that this won't happen again. Maybe that's just phrased very poorly in giving us any confidence that anything's going to change. Because of the difficult environment this has created for other boatswains, we have decided to retire the role with immediate effect. We will be taking some time to review and tighten up the process around how we onboard and evaluate members of our community programs, and we'll be making wider community-facing changes in the future. If you know the story of how this all came about and that the boatswains had set up red flags and told people not to onboard this person because of his questionable past, I can somewhat understand, because a lot of them have been attacked for being boatswains. Now that the information has come forward, they're being accused of things. I could see that they don't want to, they just want it to go away. But to remove their role with the immediate effect, like punish the ones that raised the red flag that this was a bad idea. That's okay. That seems to be, in this entire statement, the one actionable item that they say that they're going to do when they just said they're not going to, that we may recognize some of the changes in the future. This is the one action that they are visibly showing, and you would expect actual clear actions that would change some of this, and they're just not going to present that. So we have a duty of care to protect our community and our team against personal harassment, abuse, and other behaviors which endanger their well-being. Our policy is to disengage from conversation with anyone who chooses to take that approach during discussions. Here's a problem just a visible problem, that if somebody brings up a sexual harassment, a problem that's going on, are they going to immediately call that harassment and abuse? And they're just not going to want to engage with you on it, and they're going to be the people that you have to report to? Like, we need to have some very clear outlines that the community can see, that, minors can feel safe at, rather than shutting it down because they have a duty to protect their team. Just because somebody gets hot-headed that, somebody is sexually harassing minors, like that, this is just very weakly and poorly stated. I don't know who wrote this for them, but it instills zero confidence in Rare. We encourage anyone who has experienced or witnessed behavior that breaches our code of conduct to report it to our customer support team so it can be reviewed and acted on. That's exactly what happened, or at least is what is alleged to have happened. And nothing happened until it went public. And now they have slowed down their forum, where you can only post, I believe, like every 6 hours, just to make sure that nobody can be talking about it. That instills no confidence. Finally, thank you to our players for their continued support and engagement with Sea of Thieves. We're committed to working with you to ensure both the game and the community is the best it can be. I have no confidence that that's what's going to happen. And mind you, I'd play this game with my kids. I got 4 daughters. We all played together at one time. I was totally okay with that, on board with that. And I've had issues in the past where we'd have people in game saying sexually explicit stuff to my daughters. I report it, and Rare said there's not a whole lot that they can do about it. They weren't part of the community. It's just a reportable offense. But now that you have an actual serious matter with tangible evidence, videos, photos, chat logs, everything that they have, and they did nothing. They did nothing with it. No confidence in them. I don't even know what to say other than I no longer support this game for minors. Adults can approach that in any way that they can, but because and here's my bigger problem. Okay, I'm going to be not really talking about this part now, but really about the way that the game has been going. We all know over the last 2.5 years that the game has constantly changed where you can no longer be a solo player in the game. You have to be part of some kind of a community. You just have to be. You can't survive. Like even the really good players that know how to play the game struggle with solo play because now there's so many different ways that people can get on your ship. So it's just not a viable play strategy to play the game by yourself anymore. So it encourages you to be a part of a community, which is not in and of itself a bad thing. But when you're forced into a community and you have things like this, where somebody who should have never been a part of that kind of community and they place him there knowing his past. Then when it gets reported that he's doing these things, they do nothing. Again, allegedly, because we don't know who got it and everything like that. But that's the thing that they need to address. And it needs to be shown that they acted on it when they saw it. They didn't just sit on something. And none of this that they have put out in their statement gives me any confidence in that. I really hope that people take this into careful consideration for their kids, mainly because I'm family friendly. I want the best gaming experience for families and just to have a fun time. This should not even be a part of it, let alone stemming from a company, allegedly. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.